There is nothing wrong with you. I'll say it again. There is nothing wrong with you. Yes, I'm saying that from my professional opinion. There's nothing wrong with you. How many times do we wish we believe that about ourselves, or that somebody would actually tell us that and mean it? Because I mean it. So I'm going to explain all of this to you. I'm going to break it down, and hopefully I will enroll you in this idea that there's nothing wrong with you. So let's say that you come over to my house and I turn on the garbage disposal and it is making so much noise. It's all and I say, "Oh my gosh, my garbage disposal is broken." And you go over and you turn it off and you put your hand in the sink and you pull out a huge avocado pit. And you say, "Karen, you dummy, your avocado, your avocado's just fine. Your garbage disposal isn't broken." And you turn it on, it works fine. All that was wrong was there was a big glop in there. Well, that is what happens to us. Big glops of data or information get stuck in our subconscious minds, and they cause interference. They cause us to react with things that are not really present in the moment. So I'm going to explain all this. Stick with me. So the subconscious mind makes up 95 to 98% of everything you think, feel, believe, and do. 95%. So most people, you'll ask them about their day or what the choices that they make, and they'll be very convinced that they are consciously making these choices. Well, that's not really the case. Scientifically speaking, 95 to 98% of everything that you choose is really based on programming. So you're not really a choice. It is unconscious. So you just do the things on autopilot. And the subconscious mind, when you get triggered by anything in your environment, say you have had like a difficult event, like say you had a car accident and it was raining that day and you almost died, or someone you loved got severely injured, then every time it rains, your subconscious mind might send emotions to you, send signals that create emotions. And the purpose of an emotion is the subconscious mind wants you to do something. It wants you to take an action. So let's say it's raining and all of a sudden you are gripped with fear. The subconscious mind wants you to do something to prevent that accident that happened 5 years ago. Now you can see where the problem is. Like, what is there for you to do to prevent that from happening 5 years ago? Like, what can you do right now today? Nothing. That is a glitch. That's like some data that got stuck there that you keep tripping over. So anytime the subconscious mind finds something that reminds it of a difficult experience, it's going to produce those emotions for you. Like you might get angry or some derivative of anger, frustration, irritation, or you might get scared or even paralyzed, right? That's fear. And it is wanting you to do something about something that happened in the past. Now, the reason for that is the subconscious mind only is able to think in the present tense. And that could mean something that it thinks just happened, something that is happening now, or something that is just about to happen. Like, remember that right before that thing happened, the conditions that were present, this is really like that. So we must be prepared because that's going to happen again. So it's preparing you to fight, boom, boom. So what does that mean? It is sending all of your available resources to your limbs so that you can run or punch someone. If you have an anger response, it's also sending resources to your jaw, making your jaw very, very strong so that you can bite someone really hard, which, I don't remember the last time I found that useful. Like never, right? So anger is almost always a useless emotion in humans. Now, that doesn't mean you get to beat yourself up for it if you happen to get angry or triggered. It is a physiological response to a perceived threat, and it is very normal. especially when you have a lot of that gunk stuck in your subconscious mind. Now, I started by saying there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your brain. There's nothing wrong with your mind. It's just that data is stuck there. So all that gets to be done is that gets to be processed. So there's lots of ways of doing it. And I love rapid resolution therapy, which is what I've been doing with my clients for the last 6 months or so. And it is definitely rapid and it definitely resolves things. And it's nothing like therapy. Like you never have to relive traumatic or difficult events ever to resolve them. And a lot of therapies will make you go into it like, oh, you didn't feel it enough. You ran from the feelings, and that's why it's still there. Well, that's not true. When you relive it so many times, you are actually cementing those synapses in your mind and making them stronger and stronger. So you're going to be more and more reactive to conditions similar to what you experienced. So back to the responses that we have. Fear is also a physiological response, meaning it happens in your body to a perceived threat. Now, perceived is because we're human beings and we have these brilliant logical minds that have memories. And we can remember just about everything, especially if it was really negative. And your mind creates these pictures in high definition of events that were difficult for you. So that is why you can remember oftentimes every single detail if something bad happened to you. And sometimes if something good happened to you, you can remember a lot of the good things too. But if I say, what'd you have for dinner last Tuesday? You'd be like, I don't know. I mean, unless something traumatic happened, you gave someone food poisoning or set your house on fire, you probably don't remember unless something, significant happened, like you went out to a nice restaurant or you had friends over, right? So what I do in my work is I take those memories that were difficult and they're not processed if you feel any type of emotion, you experience an emotion, or you feel any physiological response in your body. And it's really easy to check. Like, okay, when I think about the time that I was doing a presentation in front of my class and I was making chocolate chip cookies and my blender wasn't working, my mixer, and I plugged it in and it was on and it went flying everywhere and everybody laughed. All right. Now for me, I thought that was funny. So that's not really a good example, but for some people, you'd be mortified by that, right? So when you think about those things that happen when you were embarrassed or something negative happened, do you feel anything? Does your face turn red? Does your heart beat? Do your palms sweat? Do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel mad? Do you feel violated? I mean, any of those emotions. Do you feel disgust? Do you feel sad? Do you feel grief? All of those mean that those events have not been processed. And yet again, there is nothing wrong with you. It is just a data glitch. So if your computer's running really slowly, you run a defrag or something, you do something to clean it up. You don't throw the whole computer out, usually. And I certainly don't want you to throw your brain away. Don't do drugs. I crack myself up. Hopefully you're laughing too. So it is super simple to speak to the subconscious mind if you know the language it speaks. And I'm going to teach you a little bit about language because it's one of my favorite subjects. One of my good friends, I just had a session for her son, an RRT or rapid resolution therapy session. And she said, Karen, you really ought to be teaching all this stuff about the subconscious mind and about language because you are masterful at that. I'm like, well, I've been practicing it consciously for a very long time. And I keep learning more and more. And the more I learn about the subconscious mind, like I realize this, my kids are 16 and 18 now, but I realized that when children are 0 to 7 or 8 years old, they are all subconscious mind, which means they can only think in the present tense. They can't wait for chocolate later. Like later doesn't exist. It's not a concept they understand. And there's no yesterday. There's only this moment, only today. Another thing, so anybody with a parent of small children, please listen to this because I did not get this when my kids were little and when it would have made a difference. The subconscious mind does not hear negative words. So I'm going to say that in the positive because I just used two negative words, right? The subconscious mind only hears positive words. So if you say, I don't want to overeat, your subconscious mind hears, I want to overeat. If you tell a little child, don't put your finger in the light socket, all their mind hears is put your finger in the light socket. How many parents would benefit from this? I can't believe this isn't like taught everywhere. And it just occurred to me. I wasn't even taught this. It just occurred to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder there's so much frustration in parenting because kids don't listen, but they're listening the best they can. Their subconscious mind filters out anything negative, like can't, don't, won't, no. It doesn't hear that. So all you want to do when you're talking to your children, if they're little, even if they're older, because again, back to that 95 to 98% of everything we think, feel, hear, and do and believe is motivated by the subconscious mind, is you want to tell them what you do want. Notice when they're doing what you do want. And the word no, I mean, they understand that someone's going to be mad at them. And I don't want to get too far into the science, but children know innately, they know that they must please their food bringers, which is mom and dad, usually, or grandma and grandpa, whoever it is that's raising them. And if they don't, if their food bringer is disappointed or angry in them, they relate that to they could die. So there's a lot of stuff that gets programmed when kids are really little that takes years and years of therapy to undo because we don't know. Like, we're not taught this as parents. We're doing the best we can. So I'm giving you some pointers. Tell your kids what you do want. Tell your partner what you do want. Tell your coworkers what you do want, what you do like, what you want more of. Because what you focus on expands. Now, we are taught from a very young age to look at the gap. And the gap is, where we could improve, where we're messing up. Like, we do this to our partners and our kids too. Like, my daughter's been cleaning the kitchen. She's been doing such a great job. And still, like, knowing what I know, this is so crazy to me, I still will notice what's out of place or what's undone. But consciously now, I've trained myself to notice and to say, wow, good job. You did the dishes without me telling you. Now, this is 16 years in the making. I mean, this has never happened before last month. 16 years. And until a few months ago, she never did anything without me asking. So this is a really big deal. So I am doing my best every single day to notice what she's doing well. And the more I notice it and say something, the more she's doing it. So she's doing it now every day without me saying a word, like asking her to do it. I'm just saying, oh my gosh, you did the dishes again. Thank you so much. That takes so much pressure off of me. And it feels so good to come out to a clean kitchen and I'm just appreciating it. And I think about my mom. My mom used to talk about my dad and she would complain and complain and complain. And one day I asked her, I said, does he ever do anything right? And she's like, oh yeah. I said, does he take any burdens off your plate, anything at all? Like, does he pay the bills? Does he do anything? Does he make money? She's like, well, yeah, he does all those things. Like, do you ever tell him that you appreciate that? She's like, no. I said, what do you think that would mean to him if you did? And what would that mean for your relationship? And she finally was like quiet. I don't know that she ever did it. She might have done it for, one time and, whatever, but it wasn't a habit. But I invite you to try it. Do that with your children, with everybody, your friends, your partners. Notice the things that are working. And now here's the biggest assignment. Notice in yourself all the things that are going well. Now, we talk about the subconscious mind and all those little glitches and all the stuck data and all the things. But if you think about everything that the subconscious mind is responsible for and everything it's doing perfectly well, it's a freaking miracle. Like it is constantly taking in oxygen without you even thinking about it most of the time, unless you're a meditator or you do breath work. Like it is absorbing the nutrients, like the richness of the oxygen, and it is expelling toxins and carbon dioxide all the time. That's coming from your subconscious mind. It's regulating your breathing. It's regulating your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of your biological, enzymatic, lymphatic, all kinds of functions. It is absorbing nutrients from your food. It is expelling the waste from that food. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, you're such a complex system. You're made up of trillions of cells. You are a miracle. And do you notice those things, or do you say, oh gosh, my knee hurts? Like you have 99% of everything is working beautifully. And it is our conditioning to notice what's not working. So when we notice what is working appreciatively, what we focus on expands. More things will come to your conscious awareness to actually appreciate. The same with your partner or your children. The more you notice, and it's a training, like you get to train yourself to notice what they are doing well, because we've been conditioned the other way for survival. And for survival, we are mitigating risks. We're looking for potential danger, potential threat, what could go wrong, what has gone wrong. And we are, running all those worst case scenarios and doing all those things. And again, what you focus on expands. So when you're running worst case scenarios, what do you think you will attract? More things to dislike and to complain about or to be a victim of. And it is definitely worth it. It's a lot of work in the beginning. It's like, pulling a trailer uphill or something, right? Got junk in your trunk. But once you get to the top of that mountain, then it's like smooth sailing most of the time, right? So it's learning those new skills, practicing those new skills. So let's talk about our friend, the subconscious mind again. So when we are doing anything that we haven't done before, the subconscious mind reads that as an unknown, and any unknowns are potentially dangerous. They're threats, potential threats. Now, so that is why it will start throwing all these logic, all these reasons at you when you try to do something outside of your comfort zone, which is anything that you haven't done before. And you might not even be uncomfortable. It just might be something you haven't done before. Like, I'm going to drive to the store going the other direction. Like, oh, I mean, it's uncomfortable. It might not be scary, but it's just out of your comfort zone, right? You haven't done it before. Now, here's some really vital information. If you have avoided something, so I used to coach people on how to show up authentically on video and speak from the heart. If you have avoided showing up on video for whatever reason, like you're afraid of being judged, or you're not perfect yet, or you might stumble over your words, you might say stupid shit like Karen, then anything that you've gone out of your way to avoid, the subconscious mind reads as potentially fatal. It must be dangerous. Why else would she have avoided it for all these years? So when you're doing things like that, you really get to get clear on why you want to do it. What's the importance of it? What will it give you? What will it do for you? Like, how does it move you toward your goals? Number one, that's it. The other thing is find situations where you've done something similar in the past and remind your subconscious mind, look, I did this thing and I didn't die. I gave a presentation at work in front of 20 people and I was fine. No, I didn't die. Like, I was nervous, but I did not die. Still here. So you want to give it something to kind of comfort it, like a little child, because it is not smart, your subconscious mind. Which brings me to another point. So the subconscious mind, we speak to it as if it has a PhD. We're like doing all of these affirmations, many of us, like, I am abundant, I am courageous, I am free. And the subconscious mind is literally as smart as a 4-year-old. So if you tell a 4-year-old, be abundant, she'd be like, what? Be free. Like, Okay, be courageous. Like they have no idea what you're talking about. The subconscious mind understands very specific, simple actions like touch your nose. Okay, that I can do. Touch your stomach, whatever, stand on one leg. It understands those. It also understands stories and metaphors. So that's why, like when I work with clients, I tell a lot of stories, but I'm not talking to their conscious mind as much as I'm talking to their subconscious mind, because their subconscious mind is absorbing the value of that story. It's drawing correlations. It's like, oh, so if that is true over there, then it's true for me here. And then it just drops things. It lets them go. It puts them into long-term storage. So if you want to do any type of affirmations, here is my recommendation. You look at what kind of characteristics that you want. So say you want abundance. How does an abundant person behave? And write down as many behaviors as you can think of. So an abundant person notices opportunities. So I notice opportunities. There you go. That is a very specific action. I practice whatever. So you write down behaviors of an abundant person, and then you turn those into action steps. And then you can make those into affirmations and then start doing them. Yes, you got to do them. You can't just say them over and over. You get to actually take action toward them. Okay, so how do I notice opportunities? Well, when people invite me to networking gigs where I think my potential clients will be, I say yes. And then I get to practice some other skills like being charismatic. Okay, how does a charismatic person behave? Well, they make eye contact, they smile, they listen. They actually listen. They don't interrupt. They reflect back to people what they heard. They remember people's names. So you want to practice those skills, and those skills anybody can learn. You can learn to be funny. I haven't learned that yet, but I think I'm funny, at least to me. But you can learn any skill that you want to. And I just want to check the time. I have no idea how long I've been talking. Okay, good. So figure out what it is that you want, and then what a person who's abundant or charismatic, what behaviors do they demonstrate? And then practice those, because the only way to feel safe or to develop confidence is to actually practice and develop an unconscious competence, which means you can do it in your sleep. You can you can put things on autopilot, which is that it's embodiment. You're going to embody those new ways of being by practicing them. And the only way your subconscious mind is going to stop, throwing things at you, saying, no, don't do that. You can't be, you're not going to be safe. You're going to die. They're going to laugh at you. Everyone's going to judge you. Remember that time in third grade? The only way it will calm down is when you give it enough evidence that you're fine. Like, look, I did the thing and I'm fine. Ta-da! So keep practicing those skills. Keep moving toward what you want. And if you find you keep bumping up against things, if you keep hitting these like invisible set points, please reach out to me. We can clear it, usually in one session. And it's like quick and painless and fun. Like I make it fun. I know it sounds crazy, but if you've been watching me, you kind of know that's my deal. That's how I roll. So thank you so much for watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. My name is Karen Seltz. And remember, there is nothing wrong with you. Love you so much. I'll see you next time. Mwah.